know-how and the knowledge. We have been building training farms, demonstration farms.
To diversify the food basket and introduce high-value crops.
राजधानी दिल्ली में एग्री बिजनेस लीडरशिप प्रोग्राम का पहला आयोजन ILFI द्वारा किया गया। कृषि की उत्पादकता को बढ़ाने के साथ साथ बढ़ती मांग को देखते हुए भारत को विश्व पटल पर उभरते हुए खाद्य उत्पाद के निर्यातक के तौर पर पेश करने के मकसद से इस कार्यक्रम का आयोजन हुआ, जिसमें डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर एंड कॉरपोरेशन के फॉर्मर मिशन डायरेक्टर एंड जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी श्री संजीव चोपड़ा के साथ साथ देश के कई उद्यमियों ने हिस्सा लिया। इस मौके पर श्री चोपड़ा ने कृषि से जुड़े कुछ अहम पहलुओं पर प्रकाश डाला और बताया कि क्यों आज कृषि के क्षेत्र को नेतृत्व की जरूरत है।
Look, India is changing. Can agriculture remain the way it always was? The obvious answer is that when everything around us is changing, you cannot remain stagnant. Now, what is changing in India? We are all aware that demographics, we have a much younger population. We have a population which is more articulate. At the turn of the century, for the first time in the history of our country, from times immemorial, more people were literate than illiterate. And I think that marked a great transition. That was in the year 2001. The second transition has happened very recently when fewer people are dependent on agriculture. That is, less than 50% people are today dependent on agriculture as the primary source of income. There are still about 60% people who are engaged in farming, but of them, a large number do not have this as the only occupation. So, somebody is in the army, somebody from the family is in the army, somebody from the family is a teacher in the school, somebody from the family is working in the post office, somebody in the family has become a registered medical practitioner, somebody set up a coaching center, somebody's done something else. So what that does is that it changes the risk appetite. It changes the ability to look into newer technologies. It changes the ability to address things a bit differently. Second change that has happened is that incomes have improved, incomes have increased. Not only amongst the, of course, you're not talking about the top end, because the top end, of course, incomes have always gone up. But today, for the first time, there are fewer poor people in the country than non-poor people. Remember, just at the time of independence, even the films that we saw, everything was poverty-driven. Today, official statistics would range poverty between 22 to 29% and decreasing quite rapidly. Although initially, in this new regime, the Narega was not funded with the same enthusiasm as before, but finally the government realized that unless the Narega picks up, unless rural demand picks up, you see, the interesting thing about incomes is that unless rural incomes grow, the cycles will not be sold, shirts will not be sold, watches will not be sold. So the developments in the industrial sector or the manufacturing sector will also not grow unless there is a transfer of income to the rural areas.
एग्री बिजनेस लीडरशिप प्रोग्राम में भारतीय कृषि अर्थशास्त्री डॉक्टर अशोक गुलाटी ने कहा कि भारत में खाद्य उत्पादों का मूल्य निर्धारित करने में सरकार का हस्तक्षेप तो होना ही चाहिए, साथ ही किसी भी उत्पाद का मूल्य तय करते वक्त इसकी मांग और आपूर्ति जैसे कुछ अहम मानकों को ध्यान में रखना जरूरी है।
Fundamental things: getting the prices right and getting the markets right. And this is in the context of a globalized environment. Now, what do we mean by getting prices right and what do we mean by getting markets right? That will follow in a few minutes. I'll also talk about government intervention, because that was one thing that Sanjeev emphasized, that wherever government is intervening and fixing prices, so there would be something, I'll talk about the MSP regime, but MSP regime touches only less than 10% of the farmers in this country. So rest of the agri-produce, how that is being sold, and can we get those prices and those markets also right or not? So that would be the other thing. I'll go into perishables a little bit. Prices are fundamentally decided by demand and supply forces. That's the fundamental principle of pricing. The supply side represents the cost of producing at home or acquiring from outside. That is your marginal cost curve. And your demand can be your domestic demand, which can be influenced by the incomes of the people, tastes, preferences, and so on and so forth. It can also be export demand in a globalized environment. So we need to keep that fundamental principle in mind when we are talking about prices. There is also an objective which most of the developed countries face, because as people move away from agriculture to non-agriculture with higher productivity jobs, whether it is Japan or US or Europe, most of the, only 1 or 2% people will be there in agriculture, and the share of agriculture in overall GDP will be 1%, 2%, like that. They want to retain those people, that somebody should be there to do some cultivation, but agriculture incomes can never match the the incomes of the Silicon Valley computer experts. Therefore, they give high subsidies or income support. So whether you take US or Japan, or most of the developed countries are supporting their agriculture in a big way. But the latest change that is coming on the horizon in a global situation is China. There is an estimate, something called producer support estimates, which OECD has figured out a measure to see how much is the support being given to the farmers. And the latest numbers this year that came, that China, which used to give only 2% support between 95, 97 to the farmers, today is 19%, 19, of the farm receipts.
बदलते दौर के साथ कृषि के क्षेत्र को भी तकनीकी रूप से विकसित करने की जरूरत है। ये सुझाव था भारतीय कृषि विभाग के सेक्रेटरी श्री सिराज हुसैन का।
We feel that one of the game changers in Indian agriculture is going to be the setting up of national agriculture market. I would also request all of you to keep yourself updated about the negotiations which are going to take place in Kenya next month, because it is absolutely important for India, absolutely critical for India to get the support of the global community for keeping public stocks. We have taken a position. Several countries have moved in different directions. Somehow, over a period of time, the way WTO negotiations were initially carried out, certain formulae were arrived at, which are not doing us any great favor. The way the language was written, the way the formulation was made, the developing countries, India is one of them, even other developing countries are facing problems due to that. I hope that there will be a solution to the problem of public stock holding, as well as other problems relating to agriculture. As far as possible, the government support to the agriculture sector is going to continue. Very soon, maybe in another week or 2 weeks, we will see a new crop insurance policy which will make it much cheaper for farmers and will make it much more economical for them to purchase insurance policies for crop insurance. We have seen last Kharif damaged badly, Kharif 2014 damaged very badly due to drought-like conditions. Rabi 2014-15 again damaged due to hailstorm, untimely rains. Kharif 2015 again affected by drought-like conditions. Rabi 2015, we are early days, but we have seen in Tamil Nadu so much of damage to crops. So our farmers are struggling with bad weather, and with 1 hectare of average land, obviously we can expect how much can they fight the nature. Therefore, the farmers do need the support of the government. It is the responsibility of civil society, people sitting in this room and people like us, to provide that support, that comfort to farmers, because many a times we in the agriculture ministry feels that if prices of any commodity go up a little bit, there is so much of noise on media, but when the prices fall, there is not so much of murmur, and it is not picked up by media and it is not discussed on any TV channel. So I am really thankful to the organization for inviting me it is a new organization, ILFI, and I hope that they will continue to organize meaningful discussions. I am also particularly happy to see so many excellencies from other countries. It is good to understand how the developing countries see the things in global perspective and how we can join hands for mutual benefit, so that the commodities which are ideally suited for a particular agroclimatic zone are grown there, and there is more free trade, more free flow of goods from one country to another country, so that the farmers everywhere can benefit. One last thing, the number of farmers dependent on agriculture has to go down in the longer run. Too many people in India are dependent on agriculture. Therefore, the government is also working out on a leasing policy which will make the farm size larger and will make it more viable for agriculture, for farmers, so that whosoever stays in agriculture can earn a decent income.
उन्होंने कहा कि कृषि उत्पादों के लिए देश में मौजूदा व्यवस्था को बदलने की जरूरत है, जिसके लिए भारत में नेशनल मार्केट होनी चाहिए। उन्होंने कहा कि मौसम के बदलते हुए मिजाज से किसानों को हो रहे नुकसान को रोकने के लिए क्रॉप इंश्योरेंस में भी कुछ बदलाव किए जाएंगे, जिससे किसानों को होने वाले नुकसान की ज्यादा से ज्यादा भरपाई की जा सके।
Today I will touch upon only one point which I think is absolutely critical to the success of our agriculture, and that is the government's effort to create a national agriculture market. We have been working very hard in that direction. In our economic survey of this year, there was a full chapter devoted to the national agriculture market. As you know, the markets in India are extremely fragmented. Even within a state, for trading in the agricultural commodities, one needs a license from every single APMC or the agriculture market. So in UP, if somebody wants to buy an agriculture commodity from Varanasi or Ghazipur, and if he's sitting in Meerut, he can't do that. You need a license from every single mandi to purchase or sell an agricultural commodity. This government is very much committed to creating a national platform for trading. And for that, we have already gone ahead. Our ministers of about 12 states have visited the state level agriculture market which has been attempted in Karnataka. They have set up a national platform for electronic trading of agricultural commodities, through which you need just one license for trading in the whole state. So a person could be sitting in Mysore, that he can buy any agricultural commodity from Hubli. Only one license is needed. And like the stock exchange, the trading is electronic. So you could place your order at 3 o'clock, the order will either be accepted or it will be rejected, and the deal is through. It is early days, some 70 odd markets in Karnataka are already connected. The central government is giving grant to various state governments at the rate of 30 lakh rupees, 3 million rupees per mandi. We want more and more state governments to join this. We have already been successful in persuading the state governments of Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Maharashtra to join this. In the next few days, we expect the state governments of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, Odisha to also join. So which means that once this national platform, electronic platform for market is created, there will be integration, which will also result in better price to farmers. As we all know, when farmers sell their commodities, the prices tend to go down, and once he has sold off, the prices tend to rise. There was a very unfortunate, if I may say so, incidents in Haryana recently, when the basmati paddy was coming in the market, the prices crashed to some 25 to 28 rupees a kilogram for basmati paddy, for which the farmers were getting up to 60 rupees 3 years back. This year it crashed to 25 to 28 rupees. And as soon as the public procurement was over, the procurement period was over. As you know, the government does not procure basmati paddy because it is more expensive. Government procures only the common variety of paddy. As soon as the government's procurement period was over, the prices rose in one day by 10 rupees a kilo. So the farmers are unfortunately having very small holdings, as I explained, 1.16 hectare on an average, and they are not organized, and the market is not integrated. Every single mandi is a different market in itself. Every state is like a country. The government is trying very hard to break these barriers. In case of agriculture, we are setting up a national agriculture market. Even in case of non-agricultural commodities, all commodities in fact, the government is very keen on GST, which is being very intensely debated. And I, for one, am quite confident that in this session itself, we should see a solution to this great challenge of creating a national market for agricultural products. This is particularly important in case of horticultural products because the shelf life is very short. We see lychee, such a beautiful fruit, but the shelf life is only about 2 weeks, maximum 3 weeks. So in 2 weeks, the entire crop has to be sold, transported. Unfortunately, the facilities for transportation and storage, etc., are not very good. Therefore,
वहीं अमेरिका से आए डॉक्टर जेबी पेन ने बताया कि कैसे आने वाले समय में विश्व में बढ़ती हुई आबादी की खाद्य की मांग की आपूर्ति की जाएगी।
Urban areas instead of the rural areas, and that migration continues at a very rapid clip. So the forecast is that by 2050, fully 70% of the 9.7 billion people will live in urban areas. So we're having a drain of people from rural areas. That has big implications not only for labor availability to produce food in the rural areas, but it also has big implications for supplying these huge population centers that are going to be in largely the lower latitudes of the world, a long distance away from some of the food surplus producing areas. So that's another big implication. And of course, we all know that global growth has slowed, but that the dietary improvement has continued. So the three big drivers, global economic growth, population growth, and urbanization, are still very much in place, even though supply has now caught up with demand pretty much for food products, and commodity prices and food prices have softened. But the other part of this past 15 years that we've come to learn is that while we're going to have to increase the food supply considerably, maybe 70% or more, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, we have big resource constraints. We have big constraints in increasing the food supply by that much. First constraint is land. We already are farming most of the world's productive agricultural land. There is a little bit more that can be brought into production, some in South America, some in sub-Saharan Africa, a little bit in the Black Sea region, but it's not as fertile, not as productive as the land that's already in production, and it's going to require more capital investment to be brought up to sustainable productivity levels. The second constraint that we now fully understand is water. And water may well be a more limiting resource as we try to expand the food supply than land. And we're already experiencing that in many parts of the world, not only in availability of water, but quality of water. And third is labor. I've already mentioned that we're experiencing labor shortages, skilled labor shortages in agriculture everywhere in the world. I mean, everywhere I go, we talk to our John Deere customers and we ask, what's a big constraint to growing, expanding your business? And almost invariably in the top 5, labor availability or cost of labor is mentioned. So that's going to be a constraint. And then another one I've listed here just as sustainability. I mean, we all know that this is an ongoing process. We can't exploit these resources one time and never use them again. We have to use the resources in a sustainable way. That's an environmentally sustainable way. Society demands that agriculture reduce its environmental footprint, so we know we have to do that. Also, economically sustainable. We have to provide this additional food in a way that the producers can make money, can sustain, the processors can do the same, it's affordable to consumers. So economic sustainability is a big aspect of this. And finally, social. There are ways in which we can produce this food that society will accept, and there are other ways that we can't. I mean, the Humane Society of the United States is already causing big changes in animal agriculture. Cage-laying hens, gestation crates for pork, for pigs. I mean, there are changes that society is demanding be made. Farmers say, well, that reduces my efficiency or it raises my cost. Nonetheless, it has to happen. And we're seeing that in other ways. Standards that big purchasers like Costco and Walmart are setting outside of government regulation are dictating the way in which foods have to be produced. So sustainability is another big factor.
आयोजन में मौजूद नीति आयोग के मेंबर ने कहा कि हमने समय के साथ साथ अपने आप को ढाल लिया है और हम कृषि से जुड़े कुछ महत्वपूर्ण बिंदुओं पर नजर नहीं डाल रहे हैं। लगातार कीटनाशक दवाओं का प्रयोग करना खेती के लिए बड़ा खतरा साबित हो रहा है। वहीं हॉर्टिकल्चर में सुधार के लिए उन्होंने कहा कि देश में हॉर्टिकल्चर को बढ़ावा देने के लिए जिस तरह से मिल्क कलेक्शन सेंटर्स बनाए गए हैं, उसी तर्ज पर सब्जियों के लिए भी कलेक्शन सेंटर्स बनाए जाने चाहिए।
We are not giving due attention to where our youth is going. This is another area that we are not giving due attention to how much chemical is used in agriculture. And that too in a crop like wheat, which is very environment friendly and very nature friendly. So you just look between 95 and 11-12, this is data from cost of cultivation study, anybody can verify it. So between 91 and 2005, use of chemical per quintal tripled. If you use data on vegetable and potatoes, and if you will come to know the kind of pesticide which is used in those, you will never eat those kind of vegetables. So this is a dangerous trend, that excessive chemicalization, indiscriminate use of chemicals, and not adequate attention to food safety kind of things is not there. So we again need to bother about it, that we need to pay attention to resistance rate, that why we are not coming with variety which are resistant rather than making use of chemical to control pest and insect. And here one may also bring in GM technology, that if it helps in reducing these chemicals, that harm from chemical is much more than what may be imagined harm from GM technology. Then this was again the slide that the best insurance against agrarian distress is growth rate in agriculture and growth rate in farm income. And many a times we keep hammering about negative side, never take note of positive developments. Like between 2004 and 12, the number of farmer suicide declined from 18,000 to 13,000. Nobody gave credit to development which took place in that period, because we are always saying farmer suicide, farmer suicide. That period you look 2004 to 2012, this is from Government National Crime Record Bureau. So they have given this number. So in this period it declined, and the main reason was that in that period farmer income increased by 7.2%. So farmer income is the best insurance against this agrarian distress and poverty. There are other reasons also, that some of the study shows that expenditure on health, expenditure on education is a major factor. It forces farmer to spend excessive amount on these things, mainly because state is withdrawing from these services. State is not spending as much as it used to spend earlier. So over time, rather than expanding role of the states in hospital, particularly in rural area, first of all, hospital will not be there. If hospital is there, then doctor will not be there. If doctor is there, he will write a medicine which will not be available in 10-kilometer radius. Then person has to go and bring. So all those things are happening. So they are also the factor for this agrarian distress.
इस कार्यक्रम का आयोजन देश में कृषि के क्षेत्र को विकसित करने के उद्देश्य से किया गया और कार्यक्रम के आयोजक डॉक्टर महेश वाई रेड्डी मानते हैं कि सिर्फ अच्छी खाद की प्रचुर मात्रा से कृषि के क्षेत्र का विकास नहीं किया जा सकता। इसके लिए सप्लाई चेन्स और प्रोसेसिंग सेंटर्स की भागीदारी इस क्षेत्र में होनी चाहिए। सालों से एक ही ढर्रे पर चल रही खेती की प्रक्रिया में तब्दीली लाने का अब समय आ चुका है। साथ ही सरकार को भी इस ओर ध्यान केंद्रित कर देश के किसानों को ये भरोसा दिलाना होगा कि वो अपना योगदान देने के लिए प्रयासरत है।